When I moved from a manager role to a leadership role in the finance department earlier in my career, I really struggled with finding my voice in meetings, particularly leadership meetings. I had no problem talking about the latest management accounts or, presenting the budget, which is very finance specific. But I really struggled to find my voice when we talked about any other topic. I would sometimes sit there and think of things in my head, challenges, questions, but it was very common for me to sit there in my earlier career, not so much now, and not really say much. And I was very aware of this, particularly being a young finance leader in a room full of what I felt like experienced leaders who knew what they were doing. And sitting there and not saying much unless I was asked a direct question, or if I was presenting, as I said, the management accounts or budget, was really, really hard for me. And this is a problem that I've heard from other new finance leaders or wannabe finance leaders, that finding their voice in a meeting is a really tough challenge, and they're very aware of their silence. Hi, my name's Alysha Randall, and I am a fractional CFO, and I also train new and aspiring finance leaders for startups and scale ups. And today I am going to talk about finding your voice. So if you are a new or aspiring finance leader in a startup or scale up, please click subscribe to this channel so that I can see that you're interested in these topics. I'd love to hear more questions in the comments as well. This is exactly who I talk to all the time. And I do train, as I said, new and aspiring finance leaders in this space. So going through, I have 5 tips going through what I use and things that I recommend to my students on how to find your voice in leadership team meetings, board meetings. The first one is that you really need to observe others. That's what kind of helped for me. I have a very specific example that I can remember. When I was working for Love Film a long time ago, there was a brand new commercial leader that was brought in, and I found her to be really inspiring, and I watched her a lot. And one thing that she did that I was quite surprised in, and now in hindsight, I do it myself, was that she would ask questions, what I used to call silly questions. So somebody would be presenting something or talking about something, and she would very much take it almost like a step back and ask a question or challenge this person. And because of her gravitas, the fact that she was very experienced, she was never mocked or laughed at. She was very much, the question was answered. And often this was a question that was sitting in my mind. Usually it's because I didn't know what they were talking about, because obviously every leader understands their department really, really well. And so they probably made an assumption that you knew what they were talking about and you didn't. Or she was purposefully challenging them to think differently and poking a few, holes potentially in their argument. And so watching her having no confidence or qualms about asking these questions was really interesting to me, because uh, I think one of the biggest fears about finding my voice in a meeting was that I would be laughed at or mocked. And of course, this person wasn't. And because some of the questions that she raised were similar to mine, it gave me that confidence that sometimes I knew what I was talking about. So people aren't really laughed or mocked in leadership meetings really at all, unless you're in a real toxic environment. But certainly in a startup or scale up, I've never really seen that. So taking that inspiration or finding someone that's really inspiring and observing them can really help you with you finding your voice within these leadership team meetings. The second one, kind of feeds off the back of that, and that is asking questions. But it goes a bit deeper than that, and largely because you are in the department that you're in. So if you think about marketing, operations, tech, They are very focused on what's happening within their department. They understand that department really well and better than what you ever will. But what they don't have is that high level overview of all of the departments that finance is quite privy to. So one thing that you really bring to the table is that you can see that high level overview. You can see how everything fits in together, and you can kind of take that step back and look down. So by looking in from this perspective, asking lots of questions and challenging the business to making sure that everything fits together is a really good skill that you have that you can bring to the table. Number 3 is using your natural tendencies to your advantage. So they're people that think out loud and very much think on their feet. And if you work for a startup or scale up, this might be you. It certainly is me. I love Q&As. And therefore, thinking out loud and challenging out loud and problem solving out loud, if you know that you're very good at that, then use that to your advantage within the meeting. If, which is more stereotypical for the accounting profession, is that you may take all of the information, process it, and then come out with either a summary or a solution once you've had time to consider the detail. And if this is you and you're aware of that, then again, use that to your advantage. So you may find that everybody around the table is really feeding into problem solving mode for a particular challenge. And because if you're aware that you're somebody that needs time to consider, then don't feel pressurized to voice your opinion at the beginning. Really listen to everyone, hone in on what you're good at. And then at the end, then once you've come to your conclusion, you can come to the table and voice what you consider to be a solution or a summary of the issue. Number 4 is to appreciate that finance team does have a lot of value and can add a lot of value. So similarly, with thinking about everything from a high level and having that overall visibility, as I said earlier, that comes to your advantage. But not only that, you obviously understand the budget, you understand where there are resources that can be used. You understand, you have a lot of data coming into the business, so you understand the KPIs, you understand the finance numbers, you understand where the resources are being used or not being used. You also understand the strategic and operational goals, because that is what you're using to build your budget. And perhaps there are some leaders that may know the strategic goals. I mean, ideally they should, but sometimes they don't focus on them. They just focus on their operational goals within their business, or within their department, sorry. So what you have is all of this information that will help the discussion. So if one department is talking about one particular issue that they have, but you know that another department either has the same issue or they have something that could help with their issue, or they have additional resources, or whatever it is, you can give that information, and it's quite worthwhile. So sometimes you think, particularly as a new leader, the things that you think everybody knows, and actually that's not the case. I actually find, and still today, that you absolutely know more than what you think, because you have privy to a lot of information and a lot of data. And number 5 is preparation. So particularly with a board meeting, preparing for a board meeting, it should not be overlooked. So it is worthwhile sticking in 30 minutes before an important meeting so that you can prepare, whether that is going through all the numbers just so that you can quote things off the top of your head, or putting potential references on your laptop that you're bringing into the meeting so you have quick access. But also potentially, if there are slides, for example, going through those so you understand them, either putting questions that you want to ask or challenges that you want to ask when you get to that slide, particularly if it's an internal leadership team meeting, or if it's a board meeting, preparing questions, answers to questions that they may ask. So if they do ask them, you're prepared. And sometimes this little bit of 15-30 minute preparation beforehand gives you that confidence, but also you're ready with your questions or with your answers, particularly if you're somebody that needs to think about things for a little while and you're not the type of person to think on your feet. It's worthwhile doing that preparation early doors. So if you implement those 5 tips, you will find that you're better at finding your voice within leadership team meetings. I know I certainly do. I mean, now you can't shut me up, but but in that early stage of my career, of my leadership career, I really did need to practice all of these things in order to find my voice. So hopefully those leadership tips will help you. If you want to delve deeper into the topic of finance leadership, we do have a free resource that's available to you that you can download. Just click on the link below in the comments and you will get that immediately sent to your inbox. So it's very much thinking about finance leadership within a startup or scale up. So hopefully that will help you. Anyway, don't forget to click subscribe, and I look forward to chatting to you next week. Cheers.